So good afternoon and welcome along to the final session of today, otherwise known in the conference world as the graveyard session. However, fear not, we have three amazing speakers lined up for you who will hopefully manage to keep you awake and inspired. For those of you that don't know me, my name's Lindsay Robertson. I'm based over on the beautiful island of South Uist on the Outer Hebrides, and together with my partner DJ, we run Long Island Retreats and Larder. I'm also one of the destination leaders for the Highlands and Islands. So this afternoon's session focuses on international tourism, and we have three amazing stories to be told today from all corners of the globe. We are absolutely delighted to welcome our international guests, Tim and Jane Parsons from Tasmania, and Ulisse and Sandra Brandli from Tuscany. Also, our very own Wendy MacDougall, all the way from Inverclyde. I have no doubt today that our speakers will leave you inspired, and if you're not already currently focused on how your business can attract international visitors, I hope you will be in just over an hour's time. Before we dive into our first speaker today, I wanted to set the scene on why international tourism is so important for us. It's not just about extending a warm welcome to our international friends, about sharing our culture and heritage, about giving them that once-in-a-lifetime experience. Most importantly, for us as agritourism businesses, it means potential increased revenue. If you take anything away from today's session, it is that international visitors will, on average, spend double what our UK domestic visitors will, with some markets spending up to 4 times that amount. So whilst it can take slightly more time and effort to establish your roots into those markets, it is very worthwhile. So our visitors to Scotland. You can see here, post-COVID 2022 saw a strong resurgence in international visitors. And whilst the number of visitors remained slightly lower than in 2019, the number of nights as well as visitor spend in Scotland surpassed pre-pandemic levels. We had a total of 3.2 million visits made to Scotland by international guests, and it's probably no surprise that the US remains our strongest market with just under 700,000 visitors in 2022. It's worth noting that while the UK still remains our biggest source of visitors with 81%, the spend from them only accounts for 52%. So that means that the 19% of international visitors are spending more than double that of the UK visitors. When we look more closely at spend, we can see that whilst a smaller percentage of visitors come from the US, on average, they're spending 4 times that of our domestic visitors, and double what our European visitors are spending. They're looking particularly for money-can't-buy experiences, and they're looking to spend their money in immersing themselves in our culture. We've experienced firsthand ourselves this year exactly that with a US couple flying onto the island for 2 days, one at the world-famous Askernish golf course, which is an old Tom Morris course, and then a second full day with ourselves immersing themselves in every aspect of island life, including local food and drink. So even if you don't know how to market yourselves to an international market at the moment, if you look around you and see what other attractions and businesses are attracting those international visitors, there's potential to piggyback along with them and secure some of those vital additional pounds. Finally, we look at what our international visitors are looking for from their visit to Scotland, and it's very much about connection with both people and place. Our US visitors, for example, are looking for big, wide, open spaces, those green landscapes, the rugged landscapes, and they're looking to immerse themselves in the history and culture of Scotland. But above all, and what you can deliver, is that they are looking for authentic and unique experiences. We personally found ourselves in the last year that we're seeing an increase in US visitors coming to us through travel trade bookings, and these customers are very much looking for itineraries that are totally bespoke to them. They don't want to necessarily be in a larger group of people. They want to book on as a couple or a small group and have their day tailored specifically for them. They want to get up close to livestock. They want their photo on the wide open, empty beaches of the Hebrides. And they want to visit the most rugged spots that are off the beaten track. They also, most importantly, in our food and drink side of things, they want to have a picnic filled with croft and local produce. So if you aren't already thinking about how you can tailor your product to a higher spend luxury customer, I would encourage you to do so. We're going to move on now to our first speaker of the day. Tim Parsons joins us all the way from Tasmania. Their award-winning agritourism business is embedded in the heart and soul of the farm, having been started in 1984 by Tim's parents, and it's the earliest agritourism business in Tasmania. Whilst here in Scotland we're nurturing the field to fork experiences, Tim and Jane have developed the Tassie equivalent of the paddock to plate experience. With over 13,000 visitors per annum visiting the farm for their half-day farm tour and barbecue, we are assured for a great presentation today. Tim tells me that his trip to Scotland was first planned when he was accosted by 7 Scottish women in Vermont at the World Agritourism Conference. Knowing those ladies here today, no was never going to be an option. If you welcome Tim along to the stage.
Thank you, Lindsay. Thank you, Lindsay, and thank you to everybody for inviting Jane and myself up here to just share a little bit with you about what we do down in Tasmania. Down in Tasmania. So what we do is I'm going to show you a quick movie. I'm not sure if we've got the sound on this one.
Approach to land care, caring for our environment, sustainable farming. Our vision is to have 20% of our farm set aside for conservation. By coming and staying on a farm in our cottages, they're immersing themselves in the landscape, and that's so much different to staying in a hotel or in a bed and breakfast in the main street of a little hamlet or village. Our point of difference is a farm experience where we can hear these lambs, these sheep in the background, watch the birds fly around, wallabies and wombats cruising past in the evening. Being on a farm, every month is different. The seasons change, and so the landscapes and the activities on the farm change. Some families that have been returning every year for over 25 years.
Got those birds to line up nicely. Okay, so that's a little 1-minute snapshot of what we do. A few words up here that our children are 7th generation Tasmanians, Tasmanian farmers. We've been farming in Tasmania for 200 years and 10 months, and a lot of Jane's family's ancestors, or Jane's ancestral family, came down from Caithness and settled down in Tasmania back a couple of centuries ago. 750-acre farm, and it's in central Tasmania, so there's a little round ringer there about that little island. Tassie's a beautiful little spot that is coastal, scenic, excellent primary production, mountains, and a tourism attraction region of Australia. On our farm, we have meat, sheep, 1,200 breeding ewes. We grow seed crops that we export around the world, and we grow opium poppies for a pharmaceutical company for making morphine and codeine. As Lindsay mentioned, my mum built a little cottage on the farm, just exactly the same as a lot of conversations we have had about you guys, just starting off with a farm cottage and seeing what's happened. And over the years, Jane has grown that up to a very successful farm accommodation business. We've won a few awards, and the first leader slide up there said we won 3 consecutive national awards, 2 bronzes and a gold for the best hosted accommodation, or we call it farm stay accommodation in Australia. So that was back in 2016. It certainly gives us a lot of a big ego boost to be able to have that recognition. We have about 13,500 customers in 2019, before that 3-year hiatus that we've all experienced called COVID. We've got 9 farm stay accommodation cottages. We do farm tours with barbecue lunches, a dog show, and a farm tour around the farm, sheep shearing. We also do weddings and functions, and one of our customer base is cruise ship visitation into Hobart as well. This is what we offer. Our cottages are spaced evenly around the farm, or spaced separate from each other. We've had some discussions this week about that sense of privacy and peace, which we value highly for that customer privacy. They look out the window and see the sheep and lambs, and we have had a Facebook negative review on social media about the sheep waking the customers up in the morning, so you can't please all the people all the time. Jane value adds the accommodation with a barbecue dinner pack. This is a sample picture here. Jane has it's our own lamb from the farm, home prepared salads, and Jane has a line of relishes and hand creams and face creams that we sell in a little retail shop as well. Value adding for also the breakfast package, homemade bread, homemade jam from our own raspberries, etc., etc. Our chickens can't quite keep up with enough eggs to meet our customers' demands. For the farm tour business, we have coaches come onto the farm, and this is a group probably most likely from Hong Kong, on the right side there obviously. We do a 6-kilometre circuit around the farm and round up a mob of sheep, look at the crops that we grow, and the field in the background there is the opium field in full flower. The other part of our tour business is small bespoke groups, little niche private groups where we go into a much greater level of detail. Lovely views, so we take the customers to the sheep. I do the sheep shearing demos on the farm. I've got backup employees that are helping me out at the moment while we're away, and I come and do the marketing and a lot of things in between as a family business with Jane and our staff. Our detail gets down to the micro as far as biology, conservation, land conservation. So we talk about the importance of sustainability and looking after the plants and animals to have that sustainable farming attraction, balancing production with environment. Our customer base, the number over there, 80% of all our visitors are international. So we took a massive hit during COVID. There's not many businesses that have that high level of international dependency, because being farm-based and being a region, we do have a niche customer base coming from Hong Kong and Singapore, and China is growing. We do have national visitation for mainlanders coming to Tasmania for a holiday, and we have local people coming to stay over the weekend, the same as you do, coming out of Edinburgh, Perth, whatever, for that short break. Tasmania has 1.3 million visitors a year. 300,000 of those are international, so we take a slice of those. We have 1% of every customer that comes to Tasmania comes to us, 4% of every international traveller. But most importantly, or not importantly, dependency on Hong Kong as a niche market, that out of 24,000 Hong Kong travellers, 8,000 of them come to our farm. And that's the power of our international marketing that's taken a long time to get to that point, but then all of a sudden success came in a rush, and that was surprising to us and very enjoyable, and now we're working really hard to rebuild that after COVID. So the drivers of who we are and what we do. Well, look, you're never really where you want to be. The last 2 sessions have been about succession, etc. But we're sort of in a happy place, and part of that is about 15 years or more ago, we worked with a consultancy group where the group of farmers got together and deep dived into each other's businesses, and we started this journey, which is very similar to what I imagine. I don't know the finer details of the Monitor Farm project that I know many of you have applied for in the build-up to this year. And and we also worked more recently with another company that helped us the same monitor program, but focusing on food, the farm food and food produce and getting that into shops. So those of you that have applied for the monitor farm, not everybody's going to be successful in this round, but you've already begun to have a look inside your businesses and started to see where the weak points are and where the strong points are. So back to our little bit, that we are where we want to be, because when we look at that scrap of paper that has got values and visions and our goals and strategies and this funny mission statement that we thought was a bit fluffy 15 years ago, that we've actually ticked off a lot of those dream things that we started way back then. Diversification for us is a third of our income is from the farm produce, a third of it is from our accommodation business, and a third of it is from our farm tour business. So through COVID, the farm propped up the tourism business. But right now, agriculture in Australia, both climate and commodity prices, as the price of sheep has absolutely fallen through the floor. So now we're relying on the tourism business to prop back up the farm production unit. Back to where we are, having things in balance, the old story about the three-legged pot of having finance, environment, or our natural resources and our people all in balance. People from staff, for our family succession and ourselves, having the environmental in a strong place and having our finances in order have enabled us to have a sound business. Of course, it's not without its mistakes, and we're always learning and improving. Opportunities for the future. So we've just come out of family transition of getting my parents sorted, and Jane and I have purchased the farm from my father, and now we're starting the conversation with our children about how far away they are from coming back. So they're in their mid-20s and they're on the mainland working at the moment. They still very much contribute to the business, but that's a big chapter that we've got coming up. And opportunities for growth, and I think somebody mentioned about, are you in the farming business or the tourism business as you expand? And for us to go and buy another farm for many millions of dollars and a low return on the investment compared to reinvesting into or investing into more tourism, and where we've got a much greater return. Challenges of the changing markets and cultural challenges that we've had. So producing an Asian-orientated product, that we've got a lot of cultural requirements coming from our customers. That it's taken us a long time to fine-tune, but part of that is we've got different customer types, even from Hong Kong and China and Singapore, all different. And then we've got Malaysians that have got Muslim base and halal food requirements. So in working in those markets and understanding those markets is very important. Also the competitor mix and length of stay. So for agritourism, being out in the region, we're about an hour's drive out of Hobart. So people that come to Tasmania for 2 days or a weekend, they don't get to us. If they come for 3 or 4 days, they'll do some of the major attractions and travel short distance out of the city. But we really need our customers to be in Tasmania for sort of 5 to 10 days and do all the big ticket items before they get to a regional destination. And so that where you are in your proximity can also be a bit of a challenge. I really won't talk at length on biosecurity. It's a huge topic, but it's something that we all must be really, really considerate of. And I don't think it affected you here in Scotland as much, but down in England, when the foot and mouth disease hit, it hit with an absolute vengeance. And so biosecurity, and it's not only about having clean customers coming onto our farm, but making sure that they leave our farm clean because they're going to another farm down the road as well. And tourism is a massive dispersal risk for any pathogens, diseases, seeds, etc. Limitations for us, look, the one I'd like to focus on is appetite for risk. So finance is always a limitation, it's how you manage it. But quite often a lot of businesses, we also talked this morning about farming business, you're living with each other, you're working beside each other 24/7. You go to work, you come home, and you still talk business all night. But for most people, their office is down the street or their shop front is a leased or owned building off-site. But when we make an investment decision on a family farm, on an agritourism farm, you're actually gambling the place you live. And many of you here that I know there's families here that are 10 generations of farming or more, and we're 6 or 7 down in Tassie. And so we've come through rough patches before, but when we make an investment decision, if that fails or fall over and the bank calls you in, well, it's actually your home and that multi-generational existence that you're compromising. So attitude, appetite for risk is a big thing for us and how we manage it. Highlights of us, I'll touch a little bit on the international side now, the marketing journey. So we looked up to tourism operators years and years ago, and they said it'll take you 6 or 8 or 10 years to find your feet. And it took us 12, and at the 15-year mark, we were going like this, and this, and then we had a vertical growing curve. And so we jumped exponentially with that visitation from Hong Kong and our reputation globally. So they said there's a saying that 50% of your marketing works really well, but you just don't know which 50% of it is. The winning those awards was a great ego boost, travelling internationally and understanding our markets. So a little farm from down in Tasmania, turning over a couple of $100,000 a year, has turned into making multiple visits into China and Hong Kong and Singapore and around the world, going with our state government, going with our federal government, paying our own way on those journeys. Nothing comes for free, but paying our way on those marketing trips. I've been on my own into China. I was one of the first tourism operators from Tasmania to go into China alone and unescorted, but also had many trips with other people as well. And that journey of learning about those cultures has been absolutely fascinating for us. By understanding those cultures and needs, it enables us to deliver that product back to their needs, and balancing sometimes when we're mixing up an Asian market and a westernised market, east and west, we need to sort of steer them in slightly different ways and deliver our project, our tours a little bit differently to meet those needs. So there's a bit of a cultural challenge in there. The international visitation, that reliance, but it's been an amazing journey. So, and the other thing was contributing to the industry. So Jane and I, we are engaged at the local village tourism group, the regional or the Shire tourism group. I'm involved at the Tasmanian statewide tourism group, and also I contribute to the national conversation about tourism, the big tourism brand, more so than agritourism, but agritourism is a loud voice that's getting louder that I'm involved in. So that's, we're giving back our time and contribution, and in turn the industry gives back to us as well. So now we're going to, I'm going to give you a little tip here. If you don't know about these things, we've got these in Tasmania. They're a fantastic people pleaser. So they're actually becoming a designer item, the Highland cows. And Jane and I have driven around. We've only seen about 3 or 4 little herds, so we're expecting to see a few more up here. These are a designer item, and to buy a cow in calf down in Tasmania now is up over £6,000 value, and that's as a tourism attraction or a family pet. So that's. But the other reason for this photo was sharing the similarities of Scotland and Tasmania. So we're not very different in size. Tasmania's about 680,000 square kilometres. Scotland's about 750,000 square kilometres. We've got 500,000 residents, and you've got 5.5 million. So there is a population difference, and that enables you to have a lot more passing trade. But the name places, we live in a village called Hamilton. It's on the River Clyde. The other day we drove through a place called Ousdale, and I could swear that the actual hill and the valley going down to the river looked identical to our Ousdale in Tasmania, and all the other place names and family clan names. Jane and I travelled up to Caithness this week and saw the churchyard with all the gun tombstones in it, which are her ancestors. I'll get back to a topic that I know a little bit more about, and that's kangaroos. So, it's actually a wallaby, but we don't tell the tourists that because wallaby gets lost in translation. Kangaroos, wallabies. Imagine you're a traveller coming from Singapore or Hong Kong, and you've heard about this little farm you booked in to see, or you're on a 7-day coach tour around Tasmania, and you come on the aeroplane, land in Hobart, you pick up your hire car, you come up to Curringa farm, and you either check into your room, or if you're on the coach group, you enjoy a barbecue lunch and enjoy that experience and the sheep shearing and the dog show, and it's all a bit overwhelming. And then you go on a tour through the farm and you see a wallaby like this, and if it's got a joey in the pouch, that's even better. And that's your very first Australian kangaroo. And for all global travellers to Australia, that's just what they want to see, a kangaroo, see this crazy creature. And for us to be standing with our customers and looking at is just a phenomenal experience that it's a real aha moment for both of us and gives us that sense of pride in delivering our product. Okay, Tasmania and Australia as to where we're at. I've got a few numbers on the next slide. I just trying to think similarities and differences. I guess the tourism products, we've all got excellent products and we all know of products that need a bit of a lift. In Australia, we've got million-acre stations that do agritourism, and they've been doing it for a long time with station stays. But instead of taking a horse and cart for a look around a 50-acre paddock, they take a helicopter to look at Aboriginal art and scenery and the cattle and things. So that's on that absolute massive scale, down to the peri-urban small artisan businesses, the vegetable growers and the cooking schools that vegetables and cooking schools that make up that fabric of what the consumer wants to see. I've got a little show and tell here. We do have a national framework that was written this year in Australia. So this national framework, it's a really new document, and it's outlining the road rules and the strategy. All the information's in here. I haven't got the web address, but you can find it on the web, and it's put together by Australian Regional Tourism. Now, when Australian Regional Tourism started, it was not about agritourism. It was about shires and general tourism outside of the major cities. So we're really leaning into that group to pick up an umbrella agritourism for us at a national level because they've got the resources to coordinate it. We've got a bit to go on that. The definition of agritourism is also, that for me personally, being a multi-generational family business rings really home to my heart. It gives us some credibility, and we've been around for a long time. But more so and more practically, it's that you're a farming business with a primary production unit that has expanded into sharing what you've got so your customers can touch, taste and experience. So different states, different regions have got different focuses. So you've got your different geographical areas. We've got fruit growing regions, dairy regions, grain belt regions, the same. Down in Tasmania, we've got about 100 varying contacts that are all sort of doing something in one way or another, but we haven't rounded them up yet to get them all in one room to have the conversation. And we're very much watching what you up here with Scottish Agritourism is doing. The dispersed, where we've got regional dispersal, which is also a problem. My last point there is government support versus owner action, and I didn't know how to put words to that. We're sort of still hoping the government's going to help us, but what we need to do is get to a position where Agritourism Scotland is got enough information and needs to take to the government and say, we've done this and we need you to help us do that. So, and get those resources by going with a clear business case. The other thing that we haven't got is we don't have a consumer-facing platform yet like Go Rural Scotland. So we're still building up agritourism, whereas Go Rural is now got something that is consumer-facing, so the consumer can press your buttons and find your properties and make contact with you and make a booking. Some really horrible, or not horrible, just a lot of numbers here that are a bit jumbled, but the total value of the Australian tourism industry is $138 billion. The value of the Tasmanian tourism industry is about $1.5 billion. So very small, let's call that about 1%. The two dark lines down the bottom. Agritourism with wine is worth $19 billion, that's 14% of total tourism in Australia. And agritourism without wine is $7 billion, 5%. So that's the strength of wine, and wine is an interesting one because wine is already a platform on its own. It's got a membership base and a marketing platform, whereas agritourism doesn't have that. But at the moment, our numbers are all blended together. And so we're just trying to work through that and define it at the moment. So in summary, agritourism is a global movement, and as Lindsay mentioned, Carolyn and I reconnected after 12 years over in Vermont last year. Carolyn, I don't know if there's anyone else in the room that's directly involved with the Global Agritourism Network, but through Carolyn's work and I've got my toe in the water that it is a global movement. But what I'd like to say to you is that globally, the world is looking at Scotland. And the work that the Agritourism Committee is doing here for you, it's not just about you paying a membership and getting your name in a brochure and hoping some customers come, but the behind the scenes, Scotland is by word of mouth, New Zealand's looking at you, Australia's looking at you, other countries are looking at you as a great model. The definitions I've already mentioned about, we've talked about development versus delivery and the products. So I guess last night, the place where we had dinner, he made a comment about if you look after the product, look after your customers, believe in what you've got, the price structure will look after itself. And I'm probably just about 8 seconds to go. So there's a nice picture to finish up with about from our farm, beautiful landscapes, pride in our product. And thank you so much for inviting us up here to share this tiny snapshot of what we do with you today. Thank you.
Thank you, Tim. That was a really insightful presentation into seeing how you've taken the business on from your parents, and yourself and Jane have gone on to develop from something quite small into something that's really inspirational. And as you say, a little farm down in Tassie has developed something that's really inspiring for us all. It's also really lovely to hear from Tim how other countries are now looking to Scottish agritourism to learn, to grow, and you develop their own strategies and platforms. And I think there's real credit there in terms of the team that have taken forward Scottish agritourism to where we are today. So we'll move on now to, if the slides are going to work for me, our next speaker of today, who is Wendy MacDougall from Kilmacolm Farm Tours. Wendy farms alongside her husband James and their young family in Inverclyde. Wendy and James were one of the first 100 founder members of Scottish Agritourism, joining in March 2021. And Wendy is also one of our destination leaders covering the Glasgow and Clyde area. So feel free to hunt her down later on if you're in that patch. Wendy will be the first to tell you that they are still in a very early stage of their agritourism journey with international visitors. That said, however, given their location and proximity to international visitor arrival points in Scotland, they have been quick to realise the potential for international visitors. So I will hand over to Wendy to tell you their story.
Okay, thank you, Lindsay. If you haven't already worked it out, you maybe realise that I am indeed the minnow sitting between the two big fish this afternoon, but please do bear with me for the next 10 minutes or so. We are very much just starting out on our journey with the international visitors, so it'll give you an insight into the opposite end of the scale. So we are a third-generation family farm, and I farm at Muir House with my husband James and our two children, Ailey, who's 12, and Kyle, who is 7. James is at home full-time, and I work at home 4 days a week because I also work off-farm as an agricultural officer for the Scottish Government. We are a host farm for the Royal Highland Education Trust, and as Lindsay mentioned, I'm also a destination leader for Scottish Agritourism covering Glasgow and Clyde. We are primarily a hill farm producing top quality Scotch beef and lamb. The steading sits about 750 feet above sea level and rises to about 950 feet. We are located in central Scotland, and we are approximately 15 miles from Glasgow Airport and 5 miles from the Greenock Ocean Terminal, which is becoming very popular with cruise liners from all over the world. We're farming 270 hectares, mainly grassland, of which approximately a third is rented. And half of what we own has been designated by Nature Scotland as a special site of scientific interest and special protected area as a feeding ground for the hen harrier bird. This has been very restrictive for us. However, it has significantly helped us on our journey to achieving being a carbon neutral farm. We have 550 North Country Cheviot sheep, which are lambing in April, with 100 indoors and the remainder outside. The 24 Simling cows are synchronised and artificially inseminated in order to keep a very tight calving pattern. This allows James to get away and onto the spring contracting work, and I am not being left the responsibility to calve cows at home on my own. The contracting complements the farm, with him spraying over 600 hectares and direct drilling over 120 hectares for customers annually, these being the two main areas of work. Amongst the spring madness, in April 2022, we decided to open the doors to the public. This allowed people from all walks of life to visit for a lambing experience, or from May, a farm trailer tour. And finally, we host school visits for children over the summer months to help bringing their classroom learning to life. And to date, we have welcomed around 200 children. So how it all started. As an agricultural officer with the Scottish Government, I'd had the opportunity to assist RET at their larger events such as Dumfries House, Pollock Park and Lanark Market. I was astonished at how little not only the children but the teachers and parent helpers knew about where they're could from. And I came away thinking, how can I make a difference? I'd also recently seen an agritourism advert and wondered what that was all about. The cogs were turning and I hatched a plan, but little did James know what was coming. The chat with James went well. He didn't think I was completely off my head, but kept reminding me that number one, we would remain a working farm and not a petting zoo or farm park. So I could live with that. I then sat down and did some brainstorming, which helped identify both our personal and business strengths and weaknesses. From here, I quickly realised I was going to be out of my comfort zone in many areas. It wasn't as easy as just talking to folk, which I had previously done. Anyway, a little research and I realised there were some suitable courses available through Women in Agriculture. This really helped boost my confidence in photography and gave me a starting point for videos to help maintain our website and social media pages. Prior to its opening, we became one of the first 100 founder members of Scottish Agritourism and attended the conference here in Perth, and the rest is history. We knew nobody, hadn't opened, but it was an instrumental few days of networking with such a lovely bunch of like-minded people. There was no such thing as a daft question, and so much was learnt, not least about the amount of red tape that we hadn't thought about. From a whole folder's worth of risk assessments to water quality and temperature, health and safety, and our booking system was just not going to work. I was very fortunate that my in-laws had kept the place very tidy, so it didn't take too much work before we opened. In fact, we were just 1 year from me arriving home from work with this crazy idea to the doors opening. So firstly, we outsourced our website development and booking system to a local company, but confirming our thoughts following our attendance at the Agritourism conference, we soon realised the booking system was not fit for purpose. With 4 months till we opened, it was back to the drawing board. I was going to have to manually confirm every booking when I came in at night. And in this day and age, unless you get a booking confirmation instantly, you think something has gone wrong. Secondly, the building costs had increased about 35% due to COVID, and delivery of materials were delayed. But on the whole, the project ran pretty smoothly, and we are still happily married. We hadn't envisaged hosting children's parties, but kept keeping an open mind and willing to try anything. When the inquiry came in, we gave it a go. Oh, the hassle and mess. The take-home message was we didn't charge nearly enough. Year one saw us sitting with tremendous feedback on social media, but with a paper and pen tick box form, it was time to go digital. Automated feedback forms are now generated, incorporating a link to leave a review on the website. The only feedback we had was the sign at the bottom of the road was at the wrong angle, and customers were looking for a food and drink offering. So the food and drink offering was on the radar for phase 2. The sign was easily adjusted, and we purchased a coffee machine and are now collaborating with another local small business to supply the home baking. We're delighted to have recently been awarded a 4-star destination tour from Visit Scotland just 18 months after opening. We welcomed our first international visitors just 6 weeks after opening. This we didn't expect. However, all the work behind the scenes improving our search engine optimization was starting to pay off. A Spanish tour operator working for a Uruguayan company had discovered our website and sent passengers from California and Dallas off a cruise ship which had docked in Greenock. And finally, we rebranded all the clothing and signs following some assistance from a local graphic designer. So we are very much at the beginning of our journey with international visitors, which to date has seen us welcome people from the countries listed. One group were organised via a tour operator, but the rest have just found us from an internet search and booked directly via the website. There have been a mixture of cruise passengers and people who have flown into Glasgow Airport, hired a car, and take a tour of Scotland for themselves. International visitors are definitely appreciating that direct contact with the farmer to make it a personal, authentic experience. They love a bit of history of the farm, and particularly how we balance environmental benefit with food production. The latest research indicates there are over 80,000 travel advisors in the USA, and on average, the USA spend 4 times the UK customer and twice that of the European visitors. So there really is a big market there. There really is an opportunity and potential to grow this market with the help of Visit Scotland, for example, because we really are like the blind leading the blind when it comes to understanding the travel trade. So here you can see the figures for the different ports throughout Scotland. It just shows that if you live near any of these locations, what opportunities there are. These passengers are looking for quality, unique experiences, and we are fortunate to live just 5 miles from the Greenock Ocean Terminal, with over 150,000 passengers visiting in 2023. So the business trends, you can see the percentage of total farm income from tours for the past 2 years, and then the split between the lambing experiences and trailer tours. So in year 1, the lambing experiences were 75% full, and by year 2, they were fully booked out. So they almost sell themselves. But we've really been working hard at trying to market the farm trailer tours. Still a lot of spare seats, but definitely heading in the right direction. You could easily market yourself out of business with marketing costs, especially for a young business. But there are 635,000 people in Glasgow alone, which is 11.5% of the total population in Scotland. So definitely a domestic market to be had there too. Experiences and gift cards make ideal Christmas presents as well, and they are available direct through our website and on the Go Rural website. And we have already got bookings in for 2024. So what's next, apart from my son as the next generation? We are keen to develop a relationship with the travel trade to increase the international visitor numbers. We're working very closely at the moment with Visit Scotland and our local council on this. However, there is no tourism officer or budget for Inverclyde, which seems crazy when there are so many cruise passengers landing on their doorstep. So this does make it a bit more of a challenge. Ideally, if we secure regular travel trade contracts, it would allow me to return to work at home full time. We'd also like to install a large vending machine, which would allow us to develop the food and drink offering we currently have. It could have the potential to collaborate with other local businesses to offer local produce and souvenirs or merchandise. The vending machine would be self-service and contactless, as we don't have and aren't keen to have permanent staff to man a shop. So I'd just like to leave you with this view of the forgotten corner of Scotland that is Inverclyde, overlooking the Greenock Ocean Terminal. Thank you.
Thanks, Wendy. I think it probably comes as no surprise to many in the room that their agritourism started out as a woman with the catalyst and the idea who then had to go home and convince the man. It is amazing to see, though, how quickly Wendy and James have taken an idea through to fruition and have started to tap into the international market. What I like most about her international visitor slide was that England was on there too. We're going to move on now to our final speakers of the day, Ulisse and Sandra, who have joined us all the way from Tuscany. If you were following the stories of our intrepid explorers in October, who headed out to Tuscany for a learning journey, you might have already seen some of the stunning images from our family farm. Excuse my Italian, Podere, El Casale. I know I was wowed by the images, and I can't actually wait to hear more about the dining experiences and their whole field to fork experiences that they offer. They describe the farm as a 30-year-long dream, and from small beginnings, they have grown what can only be described as a world-class agritourism destination, where visitors from all over the world come to taste their produce during dining experiences, take part in cookery classes, visit the farm and purchase organic produce, and also stay on the farm campsite. With a couple who have been so committed to their dream for so many years, it might come as no surprise that Ulisse has only left the farm once in 20 years. That is until he met Caroline Miller. Her persuasion powers are what leads to them joining us today. So we're very privileged and delighted to welcome them both along to the stage today.
Yeah, thank you very much for your organization, Caroline. We are very happy. And yeah, we are Sandra and Ulisse. And we came straight yesterday from Rome, so Italy, Tuscany, and Pienza is southern Tuscany, a small town between, maybe you know, two wine, Vino Nobile and Brunello. We are just in the middle. Beautiful place with a long, long history. And yeah, we are not anymore the team that makes the farm, because once we had to milk, to make cheese, to cook, to raise children, to all this. And now we are just, Sandra is in charge for cooking lessons, and I make cheese lessons with the people. Now Sandra will explain a bit our operation.
Yeah. So we moved 32 years, 1991, from Zurich. So we are Swiss people, we are not Italian people. We changed life. We had for 10 years, we were working in the music business, so completely different work. We changed life because one day we realized how food is going in a direction which I don't like, or we don't like. This was in the 80s. And so we looked for a place to make everything what ends up in our plate. This is the reason why we ended up in Italy, in Tuscany. I was a lot in Italy, so I loved the way of life. That's why there, and not in Switzerland. I loved the climate, the way of living, the food. The father from Ulisse, he had also worked in Italy, but they were both Swiss people. And so also he liked to move. So we both decided to move to a place which was cheap, and what today nobody believes, it was this valley where we ended up, in the Val d'Orcia. The Orcia Valley is, as Ulisse told you, in Tuscany, nearby, maybe to explain, Siena, Florence, and we started a farm, me and him. The farm, the idea was, as I told you before, to make self-sufficient food, organic of course, no waste, producing in a way which was sustainable. And the farm was a working farm, so there was a couple living in there. They were under the sharecrop system, so it was not an empty house. It was really old, really simple, had nearby no electricity, had water came some years before to the house. It was a really simple place, had 61 hectares of land, 140 hectares forest. We started more or less with a sheep, 2 chickens. What was there were all the olive trees, so we have about 600-700 olive trees. Durum wheat, wine was there, they did wine. And 2 people, me and him, a 2-year-old boy and a newborn 1-month-old baby came to this place. People in Switzerland told we are completely mad. 2 years, and then you are back again. This was our, what friend and also family told us. We are still there. So, what the idea was always to produce everything and to transform it. Means the grain, we have about 20 hectares cereal, durum wheat, to mill it and to make pasta bread, the end product. Milk, so we have sheep, we have today 200 milk sheep, and we make our own cheese. We have 150 goats, we make also goat cheese. All is transformed on the farm. These 800 olive, we make olive oil. Now it's the moment when we harvest the oil, the olives, and grapes to make the wine. Vegetables, we have a huge vegetable garden, which is big like a soccer place, to feed now the people which are in the restaurant. And we make preserves also with that. 20 beehives for honey. We have piglets. I'm in my heart a vegetarian. I eat meat, but it's not a meat farm. We are a dairy farm. But the piglet is the perfect animal to eat the leftovers, what the farm is producing. Means the scrap of the garden, of the kitchen. What is good? They drink all the whey. We have a lot whey, you know. Whey makes strong muscle, makes prosciutto. The pigs are living in the forest, so they are acorn feeded, about 50 pigs. But they get also the whey, which is a left. So everything is recycled. This is also a bit what we wanted. So no waste, use what we have. We do also, as I told you, we process, the process of the food is in the artisan way, in the old way. So we make just cold pressed olive oil. Just absolutely since 20 years, we make just raw milk cheese. We don't pasteurize the milk. I always tell people in the cooking classes, I like fat, good lard, lardo, which of animals which are raised outside, grass-fed, it's a good. I like bacteria, the good probiotics, so I don't kill them by heating up the milk. And I like gluten. We have a lot of American guests, so everybody's no gluten, no gluten, no gluten. I say, I don't know why. It's not the gluten, it's how this gluten is produced, and this makes you so sick and feeling also bad. So we make our own slow-dried pasta. This means our pasta dries about 72 hours, means slowly, and also sourdough bread. So this is also a bit the slogan of slow food. Maybe somebody knows this Italian, how we call that? Movement, slow food movement. It's a university in Piemonte, North Italy, which sustain, you can Google that. We are a slow food farm, we are a slow food restaurant, and we are slow food people. You can join this slow food organization. Means produce, eat, and sell clean. Don't have to be organic. Open the eyes. When you see from where food is coming, we are organic certified, but it's not important. Eat clean, look what you eat. Eat fair. People has to be paid. So also in the Tuscany, also in Europe, not just in other countries, so people has to be fair. And flavorful. Eat seasonal. Eat what you have. The first 10 years was just learning. And also raising 5 sons. We had in the meantime 3 other boys. And hospitality on the beginning, what we do now a lot, and this keeps the farm, was completely not out of option, because nobody came in this valley where we were staying, in the Val d'Orcia by Pienza. There was just a rural community. They had the sharecrop system, poor people, poor farms. They could really not ride. As I told us, the house was simple. We started there our farm. I went also working outside because we had to fight against economically problems. The first thing what we started to make was a small farm camping. We had the idea, as the house was full of kids, it's not a villa, it's not Noble house, we had 5 rooms, so we stayed there. We had volunteers there, which helped sometimes. So we started to make a little farm camping. And so people came, biking maybe, or so, they stopped, and they stayed on the farm. End of the 90s, it changed this valley completely and really fast, sometimes I think a bit too fast, when the first film were made in this valley, because it's a gorgeous area. So the English Patient was filmed under our farmhouse. The Gladiator was made there with Russell Crowe, with the Australian. Under the Tuscan Sun was filmed there. The Medici film. And then the North American, mostly tourists, started to come because they wanted to see the area. And so the valley started to host more people. Farmhouses started. I still remember people started to rent rooms. We had farm camping. They could not even speak English, these farmers, because they were really farm, and asked me, Sandra, could you help me? There's somebody which calls me, but I cannot give an answer. I don't know how it's going. But we started, and then we started also our little farm restaurant with 5 people, 10 people. So Ulisse started to cook, then he went milking, I stopped the cooking. When he was finished milking, he came back, I served, always a child on my back, and so this farm restaurant started. So, around 20 years ago, we concluded slowly, the building. So we made a bigger restaurant with a big kitchen, to make more hospitality, because we were always interested in food. We made a creamery, so we could sell officially the cheese. Laboratory for preserves, so we make all our preservings. A bigger barn, because we had 2 sheep, 5 sheep, 10 sheep, 20 sheep, so slowly, more and more animals. And a warehouse and a farm store, where we sold our products. At a certain point, our guests called us a farm to table. I said, okay, this word did not exist when we started that. And we realized the potential of our farm, because we cooked just what it was there. They ate, they saw the animals. We realized that this can be a good thing to earn money. So we invested in that. 10 years ago, one of our sons, as we are Swiss people, our sons they finished school there, but some went back to study, to make an internship. But 10 years ago, one of our sons came back, Misha. He studied that also, he makes now the management, economic, and the restaurant organization. Some years later, the second son, he came back. He was always a good farmer. He loved machines, tractors, but we told him you have to learn something. We never know what is going on with us. Maybe we fail, and then you are. So he went to Switzerland, made a plumber apprentice there, and came back. And he organized the farm work. It means all the fields, less the animals, but more the fields, the wine harvest, now the olive harvest. And then one of the daughter-in-laws came. She's a chef, so the family is coming back to the farm. As a bigger farm, family setup, we could work on the quality of our hospitality and the farm activities, which Caroline maybe and some of you enjoyed. Today, finally, after 30 years, we start to have a balanced economy because of the restaurant. This is an important, and the farm tours, I tell you why. The farm employs in wintertime, this starts now, 25 employees, and in summer, till 40 people. We are proud because I can always say this farm, with the work on our farm, we can feed 40 families which are living around us, which work here. We have also internships, professional ones from Denmark, Germany, Switzerland, Italy, which are making a professional stage in the kitchen and in the farm. So we are also a school and education farm also. So what is our attraction to come, to visit us? So, for sure, the beautiful view, I told you, people come, they say it looks like a film. I see, yeah, they do a lot of films. It's really, that's why also it's a heritage of UNESCO. 20 years ago, UNESCO started to protect this area because of the beauty. So the tourists don't destroy that to make pools. We can never do a pool. We have to leave everything. The house is 500-600 years old, has to stay the same way how it was. We can just maintain. What also is an attraction, visitors want to learn about the background of the farm, and as we do, mostly family members do the farm tour, they are fascinated of that. We explain that the philosophy of our life, not to waste. We cook from the nose to the tail. We use just seasonal what is on the farm. We do tours, so before lunch, the guests make a tours, lunch or dinner. I do a lot of cooking classes. We are now 3 people doing cooking class because there were so many requests that I can't. I did morning, evening, I did 12 hours in a day cooking classes. When I finished, I set it up for the evening cooking class, so now I have a help. 2 helps which do that. That's why I can be here, because also today we did a truffle hunting with cooking class. Otherwise, I could not go away. I did that summer and winter. And cheese making. He makes cheese making class and truffle hunting. We have truffles in our 100 acres forest. Our cheese, the raw milk cheese of goat and sheep milk, is a big attraction in this area. I can say it's one of the best cheeses around, because we do raw milk, grass-feeded, the animals outside. It's local milk, which is not everywhere. And these people, they feel the quality also of the food. We change every day the menu, so it's also now, we cook what is in the season. So if somebody now wants tomato, I say, come next year back. It's finished also in our. Now in the autumn season, we also feed game meat, so that we get meat, wild boar, we get meat from the hunters around. We have 100 acres forest, so we cook also this. Then, of course, we have the mushrooms, then we have the truffles. Okay. We have mostly North American guests, this is to say. Because they discovered us. Now, the pandemic had the positive side that the Italians discovered us because you could not go out of the region. And now we have a lot of Italian guests coming. And this is really good in wintertime and on the weekends, because in wintertime, of course, the tourists in Italy most is going, and this was a big problem to survive winter months, which we had big costs. But now, they are also here. Okay.
Now comes my job with some numbers.
With numbers, yeah.
So our restaurant is open basically 7 to 7 days. A part of the winter time is only in the weekend. We have lunch and dinner, very busy always. Mm-hmm. We accommodate, we are maybe a bit different to what we have heard before of the cruise business. We go on smaller numbers, but better numbers in the sense of what they spend. So we don't go over 100 people at lunch, and better not over 60 at the dinner, because the dinner is a little bit more fine dining, we can call now. Mm-hmm. A little bit more, even better atmosphere, less busy. Then we have, of course, we have limits in this sense, no, because there is only one lunch, only one dinner in the day. So that's why an important option are events. Events can be in first-line weddings, but I hope even other events, not only weddings. Sometimes a bit boring. And the events, no, that's just even an input is a good chance to work more, because an event has a menu that is the same for all the people, and menu guests, they can change now. So consequently, you have less troubles in the kitchen. We have more or less, let's say, tour and dinner, tour before dinner, and lunch 3,000 a year this year. So it's not a lot, but it's a tour of an hour, more or less. We have tour and tasting in the morning and in the afternoon. That's around 5,000 people. And what is a big thing, especially in the income, are these experiences with me and Sandra and the truffle hunting. We are around 5,000 different experiences, and that's a big part of our economy. And then, of course, the restaurant guests together, dinner and lunch, around 30,000 people. That is a big number for us, but of course there are maybe farm-to-table restaurants with 300 places. Consequently, they could make much more. But then they changed everything. You have troubles with the quality, you have troubles with a lot of different things. And then we have this camping that is a small part, but 60,000 euro is always welcome. We have at the moment maybe a little bit, till the end of October, we have around 2 million euro turnover with 200,000 agriculture. That means shop and agriculture, no? But of course, not included in this 200,000 are all the products that go in the farm-to-table part. Yeah. Now, maybe
how do people find us? Let's say marketing, we say that in another word. So, of course, today, social media. People, Instagram. People, they post, even the guests, they make it for us. I say in the reception, we have 5 girls there, girls and boys, they make the bookings. So also this is included, of course, in the 30 people. So they post stuff. This is a big thing today. This is the big thing. The website, the website is important. Agencies, we have a lot of agencies now. They come regularly, bring people for cooking classes, for tours, and also the speaking word to mouth. The critical point with this growing, because we grew a lot also after the pandemic, is to manage that the quality stays in the same level. Because you see, when you go and you start to work, we want to keep the same quality for everything. And of course, also in the main season, we are on the limit. Means the force, to where we work 18 hours, what I told you before, to make that. The conclusion of this, how could we grow in these 30 years? Ability to react by the demand. What was good with the languages, we speak German, French, Italian, Spanish, since ever, that's good. To keep that it's a family business, and the passion, to transmit the passion to guests which are coming. This is an important thing. Now there are the last numbers.
Yeah, a few numbers around agritourism or tourism in Tuscany, similar to Tim. Let's say Tuscany is an area that is around 23,000 square kilometers. So I think maybe Tasmania is similar. No. No. Okay. And then we have, there in Tuscany, there are 3,700,000 inhabitants, so basically quite a lot. There is more or less 13 millions of people coming to Tuscany, and these people stay more or less 3 days each person. That's just sleeping people, not then the people that just eat. And Pienza, comparing, is very small, is only 2,000 people, no? But in Pienza, there are coming more or less 60,000, 70,000 people every year. And the big surprise, I was even a bit surprised, there are not many numbers available. Italy is not so well organized as Scotland. There is more or less a balance between Italians and American or stranger. So we are probably more focused, or the strangers are more focused to come to us. What is a bit special in agritourism in Tuscany that I think is maybe convenient to explain you. So in Tuscany, agritourism can be not stronger than agriculture. Mm-hmm. And that's a very weird system. I have still to understand how that will really work. So it's not connected with the profit, but connected with the hours of work, no? So I told you we have 2 million euro with the farm, but with the restaurant, excuse me, but the restaurant has only 4,000 hours a year following this list. And the agriculture that has only 200,000 euro has 12,000 hours of activity. Consequence, we are still majority farming, even if economically we are completely not majority farming. Then, for example, another small detail is, and in fact, to create hours, a lot of agritourism, they create, for example, a lavender field that brings many hours, but you have never to harvest, or you plant 1,000 olive trees, and then you have your business, no? What is also very interesting is you cannot build in Tuscany, but you can convert barns, and that's the reason why even livestock is a bit gone, because you can convert a barn in, you can even destroy and build new, and then you have an agritourism. And these are all rules that sometimes are maybe a bit strange, but I think one rule is really great. There is a rule, so 80% of all ingredients that you use in agritourism in Tuscany must be Tuscan. And that I think is a great, I think that's a great, how we can call opportunity even to develop again economy.
You eat local food in agritourism, it's impossible to buy something. They come to control your restaurant.
And then what is another bad point, I guess, and I really enjoyed today to listen to you, there is no organization in Tuscany as Scottish agritourism. Basically, nobody works together. Everybody works competition. There is a lot of people are jealous of the other farm. And the fact is that a lot of agritourism are just empty, because the farmers are not able to manage this. So just to give you a bit an idea, so Tuscany looks paradise, but is not really a paradise. In terms of, and I come here to Scotland, I was never here before, and I see that there is a lot of connection. And go on. Thank you very much.
We should learn of
you. The last picture. Thank you, no.
Thank you both for an amazing presentation. It really was beautiful to see the breadth of produce that you're producing from such small beginnings. And I think we can all see the passion that you've put into creating what a special product you have today, both for your visitors and the community around you. We're going to move on really quickly to questions. We are getting quite short of time if you all want the room to be set up in time for dinner. So are there any questions from the floor to start us off? We will take questions directed at any of the panel or to them all as a whole. I know you're not retiring types out there, so we can jump onto Slido as well. Fiona?
With your businesses all being so on farm, in your face, working with your family.
We're right down here at the table at the front. If you just introduce yourself as well, Fiona.
It's not working.
Switch it on.
Try now, Fiona.
Hi.
No. Do we have a second mic?
It's broken. At the first time, no? No.
Zit er op de knopdruk? Geht nämlich schon.
If you speak, Fiona, I'll repeat it. Yeah, on you go.
Just to ask you, with your businesses all being so time evening, what do you do to relax? You know, you work with your family, you live there, you have customers coming and going all the time. How do you all switch off?
So the question from Fiona, for those of you at the back that probably can't hear, everybody is so all consumed within the business, working in it, living in it, breathing it basically. What do you do to relax out with the business?
Sleep.
Yes.
6 hours.
Not a lot, not a lot different one, different things.
I think, if I can give an answer, no, I think you cannot make a life like that if you don't like people.
Yeah.
So if you are the one for the island alone, then forget it. If you like guests, and for me guests are a kind of, even traveling, no, I can use a lot of inputs of the guests, then can be a great pleasure. But it's clear, in September, October starts to be a little bit difficult sometimes.
Tim?
I think farmers are inherently beholden to the weather and the cows and the crops, and we are the same. And with tourism, like you just said, you've got to like the people. It has been incredibly difficult for Jane and I to let go of our baby and come up here to Scotland for 3 weeks.
Yeah.
And that has taken a huge amount of anxiety, because right now is our peak season. But we know that we've got an amazing team at home, and the biggest hurdle is entrusting that team to manage and cope in our absence. And for us to get over that hurdle will be an amazing release for us, to be able to know that the business can carry on, and we don't have to be there 24/7.
Wendy, do you want to jump in?
Okay, I'm perhaps a bit more selfish than these other two here. I used to do a lot of horse trials and eventing and competing before I got in tow with James and sold my good competition horse. So I've now got a young horse that I really enjoy bringing on and training, and our daughter has a pony, so I very much enjoy just taking an hour or so, maybe twice a year, to go for a hack down the road. And that lets us switch off.
I'm going to jump onto Slido now. We have a question that came in very much focused around food and drink, which is very topical in terms of our agritourism strategy going forwards. It's asking, what advice would you give someone looking to start a farm cafe or restaurant? So we'll jump to yourselves.
Do you understand?
So it's starting out, what's top tips?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think it's important when you would like to start to do this, to really know that you like to host people. I go back what I've said before, no? And then try to figure out, what products you use, no? Because, of course, if you go in the supermarket and buy the products, then you are not very attractive. So maybe work first on the farm, and then make slowly a cafe, no? I don't know, maybe.
Tim, I know you jumped into a farm cafe and then fed back to us last night.
The nature of our business and the hit we took at COVID, we converted our tour centre into a cafe. And our local community looked after us really well, and they came along and they bought a coffee and a toasted sandwich. But when that novelty wore off, and we were trying to hold ourselves together, but it actually didn't work. And so we would sit there all day on a Sunday, and if we had staff, we were paying them double rates, and we were selling 8 or 10 cups of coffee and 8 or 10 sandwiches for a return of a couple of $100, with an expense of $400 or $500. And then we sat down and had a really hard look and realised that when we have the same 10 customers come in and they pay us $70 each, that's a $700 day for exactly the same resources. And so we gave it a go and it didn't work, and we got back to our core business of what we did well, and then we've re-engaged back at that level. So that was a financial exploration that we did, which is totally different to perhaps a bit different to the question.
Maybe I can add something. Make first a big family, no? And you don't have to employ, no.
That's it. That's it.
Family.
I think the key learning there is probably to actually do what you've got a passion for, and potentially if it's not about having that cafe and that daily footfall and paying the staff, it's maybe about having those bookable food and drink experiences that so many people are doing.
Can I also just add a tiny bit to that? That also last night we discussed about a cafe or a roadside stall, and the journey for some of you is some eggs on a roadside stall and some vegetables and a little cooker and a couple of cups of coffee. But there are others of you in the room that are 3 or 4 years down the track, and it's turned into 100,000 people coming in the gate. Mm-hmm. And so that can be a really fast journey. And so perhaps the question of how do I start a farm cafe is not as important as how do I manage 100,000 people coming through the door in 3 years' time. And that'll be built on success, but that's the journey that we're all on.
Are there any other questions in the room before we jump back onto Slido?
There's one at the back.
Oh yeah, there at the back.
It's a long way away.
Hello there, Julia Lato, Scottish Enterprise. It's a question for the international visitors. I had the privilege of going to Tuscany with Caroline and Agritourism businesses a few weeks ago, and the inspiring experience is still with me. I'd like you to maybe share with the audience, this being maybe your first time in Scotland, the businesses that you've went to visit. What emotions and feelings will you go away thinking about on Scotland and impression it's made on yourselves as part of this visit? Thank you.
So the question is really, this is your first visit to Scotland. What emotions, feelings have you gained from this? What is encapsulated from Scotland when you leave? What are your best bits?
Oh, we're still processing that one. Look, the generosity and the hospitality on a personal level of the very few businesses we've touched, I'm sure that is extrapolated across all of your businesses and throughout the industry. We knew we were coming for agritourism, of course, and it's been a major focus, but the ability to travel around your country, we thought we were coming to see castles and whiskey. And we've realised that you've got your beautiful coastlines and your products and your signage, and our experience has been absolutely perfect in the 9 days we've been travelling around.
And Tim assures me it's not his last visit.
We arrived yesterday night. We were the whole day here inside. I was happy that it was not raining. The evening we had dinner outside. This was the first experience, and I think the first, you see faces, the hospitality till now. And we can stay till next Sunday, so I hope we will have a lot more experience. We will visit some landscapes, and I am open. I think I will enjoy.
I would like just to tell you one so simple thing. I met in my life maybe 3 Scottish now. And they were great people, so that's why I always wanted to go on to Scotland, even because I've seen pictures of this beautiful nature. And now I've seen many more Scottish, and I think it's a good impression. Now I will see next days.
For this week. I'm happy to stay here a week. Maybe we come back then. Now this is the start to go to vacation.
We've got another question here on the floor.
Thank you. I'm Eric from Caffrey Farm. Just wondering how, in your planning ahead, how did your communities that surround your properties take on board moving from or up to 100,000 visitors a year? Was there any pushback in that?
So how does the community around your property
Around us?
respond to the number of visitors that you bring in each year?
Unfortunately, before there were a lot of sheep farms, not anymore. We are mostly the only. We are 3 sheep farms because the milk comes much cheaper from France, Holland, other countries, so they transform it to this sheep cheese. In the dairies, a lot, we have contact with people outside. I think we do different stuff than they do. We are a bit different.
Maybe I have to add that we are comparing to you and you. We are not local there.
Yeah.
And then you are not local there. And that's why there's a lot of people looking very bad. No, they even speak of too much traffic on the road. Simple things that you meet everywhere. But this is a fact, no. We are a bit aliens, we can call.
We are, yeah. First we had 5 children. This is not normal in Italy.
Even that, yeah.
The family has 1 or 2. Then we did organic. This was also, you know, what we started to do was completely out of the normal rules. And I don't think they don't like us, but we are different.
No.
We are different. They come now. I told you, we had 30 years, nobody came. When the pandemic came and people had to go just local, in Italy we were really, really closed. So when they opened, people came and told me from the town nearby, Montichiello, and said, I pass every day in front of your home. I saw that you have a lot of animals, but I did not know that you have a restaurant. And we worked since years with a lot of clients. And this is a bit, makes you think about it, open your eyes. It's even written farm restaurant. You pass every day on the gravel road, not on the main road, gravel road. Really, they see the donkey, they see the animal, and they don't realize that you cook food. Maybe they did not want to see.
You're disruptors in the industry, and that's can be a good thing.
Yeah.
And my thought to that answer to that question is, when I go and market internationally, and the reputation that you've got through your book and your product, a tourist doesn't go to Italy just to see your product. A tourist doesn't just come to Tasmania to see our farm. So when we market globally, I'm marketing on behalf of all Tasmanian visitors, all Tasmanian businesses, because those tourists are staying for 2 days, 7 days, 10 days. But as far as our local economy, we're injecting $250,000 worth of wages back into our local district, and we are able to sponsor community events and functions and give back that way. So we've generated some respect. There's another little problem about Asian tourists driving on the roads, and so a common comment is, oh, there's another Chinese stopping and taking photos and holding up the traffic. But the people that make that comment, they cannot identify the difference between a Chinese, a Singaporean, a Japanese, an Indonesian, or someone from Thailand. And so, you know, that's the local mentality that we've risen above. And the last part of that question was, how do we contribute? How does the community engage? I think that's enough of an answer at the moment. I've lost the other bit.
Thanks very much. Unfortunately, we are going to have to finish up on questions there today just to get the room turned around for this evening's dinner. Before we close, I just wanted to touch on the Scottish Agritourism strategy for 2030 and our growth target of increasing the number of travel trade ready businesses from 15 to 40. We will have a really positive update on that tomorrow from the Deputy First Minister. However, for anybody that's sitting there in the audience at the moment wondering how they can maximise their international visitors, being travel trade ready is a key part of this. We know that over 55% of the 700,000 US visitors coming to us annually book via an intermediary booking agent, and the majority of these agents are working with Visit Scotland. So having your listing on the Visit Scotland travel trade site is key to being able to tap into this market. We have Rona and Alison with us today and tomorrow from the travel trade team. I think I'm right in saying they still have some appointments for tomorrow if you would like to speak directly to them. We also have Donald, Claire and Lorna with us on the Visit Scotland stand who can answer any queries if you want to have those first discussions or note an interest in terms of how you can go forwards to capture an international market. I hope you'll all agree that today's speakers have been really inspirational in terms of how they've grown their businesses from a very grassroots level up. I know I'm leaving the room filled with ideas in terms of how we can further develop our experience over on South Uist, and I hope you are too. I'm now going to hand over to Fiona Campbell from the Scottish Agritourism Board to close the conference today. Before we do, could you please show your appreciation for our speakers today?